The teenagers at Westfield Mall thought it was hilarious. The old security guard with the limp, walking slowly through the food court, trying to keep up with their energy. "Move faster, Grandpa." They'd laugh. "What are you going to do, write us a ticket?" But on Black Friday morning, when chaos erupted and panic filled every corner of that mall, those same teenagers discovered why you never mock an Army Ranger. Because Rangers don't retire. They just change uniforms. Robert Bob Mitchell, 67 years old, left his house every morning at 6:30 a.m. His small apartment was only a 15-minute drive from the mall. He always ate breakfast at the same time, carefully put on his uniform. Blue shirt, black pants, shiny badge. Everything in its place, just like in his Army years. When he looked at himself in the mirror, sometimes he saw Lieutenant Mitchell, age 25, the young soldier serving with his team in the dusty mountains of Afghanistan. But then reality would return. His hair had turned white, wrinkles lined his face, and his right leg would never be the same. 2003, Kandahar. 10th month. Bob and his team were on routine patrol. Eyed improvised explosive device. A roadside bomb hidden from view. In 1 second, everything changed. He lost 3 friends that day. He was rushed to the hospital with metal fragments in his leg. "You're lucky, Sergeant," the doctor had said. "You'll be able to walk." But there's a difference between walking and running. Bob couldn't run anymore. At least not like before. And for a Ranger, that meant losing part of his identity. When he arrived at Westfield at 7 a.m., Security Chief Mike would greet him. Mike was one of the few people who knew Bob's story. A former Marine himself, Mike understood what veteran solidarity meant. "Morning, Bob. How are you?" "I'm good, Mike. How's it looking today?" "Quiet, but Black Friday's coming. We need to be ready." Bob nodded. Black Friday was the hardest day of the year. People went crazy, courtesy was forgotten, and security guards were truly tested. Bob's shift always started with the same routine. First, he'd check all exits. Emergency doors, fire escapes, security cameras. Then he'd move to the food court. This was where the teenagers spent most of their time. Tyler Morrison, 17 years old, was one of the popular kids at Westfield High School. His father was a successful lawyer, his mother a doctor. Tyler had never faced real hardship. Life had come easy to him, so he couldn't understand others' struggles. Marcus Johnson was Tyler's closest friend. Athletic, charismatic, but also ruthless. He could smell weakness and would attack. Bob's limp was a perfect target for him. Jake Williams was the group's comedian. He always made jokes, but his humor usually came at others' expense. Making fun of Bob was part of his daily entertainment. Chloe Davis was the most toxic member of the group. Beautiful, intelligent, but lacking empathy. Her words were like sharp knives, and she took pleasure in targeting Bob. "Look, Robot Bob's coming," Tyler would say, mimicking Bob's steady walk. "Beep beep, security alert." Bob heard this every time, but he never said anything, because he was there to protect these kids, not to judge them. One day, Bob was sitting in the food court, quietly eating his lunch. He usually ate alone. The other security guards were young and didn't talk to him much. "Poor man," Chloe had whispered, intentionally loud enough for Bob to hear. "His pension probably isn't enough, so he has to work here." "I think he's too slow," Marcus had said. "If there was a real emergency, he'd be useless." Bob had heard this. He heard it every time, but he said nothing. He just did his job. Jake had been the cruelest. "I think he should retire," he'd said loudly, close enough for Bob to hear. "He's dead weight. If he was a real security guard, he couldn't catch any thief at that speed." Bob had stopped, looked at them. Something had flashed in his eyes. 4. Just a brief moment. But then he'd just shaken his head and continued eating. "Did you see that?" Tyler had said excitedly. "We made him mad, but Bob wasn't angry. He was just sad. These kids didn't know what he'd been through, what he'd seen, what he'd sacrificed. They didn't need to know. He was there to protect them, not to judge them." That night at home, Bob was looking at his old photographs. His uniform with the Ranger. Tab, his team members, his young face. There was one photo in particular, taken in Afghanistan after a mission. There were 5 of them. Now only 2 were still alive. His phone rang. It was his old teammate Danny calling. "Hey, Bob. How are you?" "I'm good, Danny. How are you?" "You know how it is. Sometimes I miss the old days." Bob smiled. "Me too. But the past should stay in the past." "Right. By the way, the local newspaper wants to interview you. They're writing a veteran story." "No," Bob said firmly. "I don't have a story. I'm just doing my job." "Bob, you're a hero. People should know." "The heroes were our friends, Danny. They didn't come back. I was just lucky." This was what Bob always said. Survivor's guilt. Why had he survived when his friends died? This question woke him up every night. 3 days before Black Friday, the mall was starting to turn into a battlefield. Stores were preparing. Security measures were being increased. Extra staff was being called in. "Bob," Mike said, "it's going to be even more crowded this year. New stores opened, bigger discounts. Are you ready?" "I'm always ready," Bob said. But the truth was, Bob was worried. He was getting older. His leg hurt more, and the teenager's disrespect was affecting his morale. Maybe it really was time to retire. That evening, Tyler and his friends were doing their last shopping at the mall. They were checking the price of the gaming console they wanted to buy on Black Friday. "We need to come early," Tyler said. "It opens at 6. We should be there at 5. Limping Bob will probably come early too," Jake said, laughing. "It'll be easy to get past him." "What really happened to his leg?" Marcus asked. "Who knows?" Chloe said. "He probably shot himself in the foot." They all laughed. But Sarah, the young cashier nearby, had heard them. "You're talking about Mr. Mitchell," Sarah said bravely. "He's a very good man. You should show him respect." "Why?" Tyler asked. "He's just a security guard." "He's not just a security guard," Sarah said. "He's a veteran. He fought for his country." "Do you have proof?" Chloe asked. Mockingly. Sarah paused. She actually didn't have proof. She just knew from Bob's demeanor, his posture, that distant look in his eyes. "I don't need proof," she finally said. "I know him. You don't." On Black Friday morning, at 5:30 a.m., Bob had arrived early as usual. The mall wasn't open yet, but there was already a line outside. Hundreds of people waiting for the deals. Bob was doing his final checks. Security cameras, emergency exits, communication systems. Everything was in place. "It's going to be a tough day, Bob," Mike said. "We called in extra support, but you're the most experienced. Keep an eye on the young ones." "Of course, Mike." When the doors opened at 6 a.m., the human flood began. Hundreds of people rushing for the deals. Bob took his position near the main entrance. His eyes were everywhere, noticing every detail. Was part of his military training. Situational awareness. Observing everything around you, spotting threats in advance. Tyler and his friends had also come early. They were running to the electronics store to get the new gaming console. When they saw Bob, they started their usual mockery. "Look, Limping Bob's on duty," Marcus said. "How many thieves will he miss today?" Jake added, "Probably all of them," Chloe said. "He can't catch anyone at that speed." Bob heard them, but ignored it. There were more important things. The crowd was growing and tension was building in the air. At 8:30 a.m., The first incident happened. A fight broke out in the electronics store. Two customers were fighting over the last remaining TV. One was a middle-aged man, the other a young woman. "I was here first," the man was shouting. "No, I made a reservation," the woman replied. The situation was escalating quickly. Other customers were starting to get involved. Bob immediately headed there, but his limp made him slow. Tyler and his friends noticed this. "Speed up, Grandpa," Tyler shouted. "The fight will be over by the time you get there." Bob stopped, looked at him. This time the flash in his eyes lasted longer. But again, he said nothing and continued with his duty. When he reached the fight, the situation was about to get out of control. But Bob stayed calm. Okay, he said, raising his hands. "Let's stay calm. We can solve this. This man is taking my TV," the woman shouted. "Ma'am, please calm down," Bob said in an authoritative but gentle voice. "Sir, please step back." Somehow, Bob's presence calmed the situation. Maybe it was the authority in his voice. Maybe his calm demeanor. People trusted him. He solved the problem, gave the TV to the rightful person, and convinced the other with an alternative option. But this was just the beginning. At 10 a.m., real chaos began. A stampede broke out in the toy store. Too many people had rushed for a popular toy at the same time. People were falling, pushing each other. Children were crying. Mothers were screaming. An elderly woman had fallen and couldn't get up. Bob started running. His leg hurt, but he didn't care. People were in danger, and Bob Mitchell never backed down when people were in danger. "Back off," he shouted in an authoritative voice. "Stay calm." But no one was listening. Panic was spreading. People couldn't think rationally. That's when the soldier inside Bob awakened. "Stop," he shouted, so powerfully that the entire store fell silent. This was his command voice. The voice he used when giving orders to his soldiers on the battlefield. It contained authority, power, and determination that left no room for argument. Everyone froze. Even the children stopped crying. "Now," Bob said, his tone leaving no room for discussion, "you will calmly retreat in single file. Is anyone injured?" People were looking at him in amazement. Was this the same old, limping security guard they'd seen before? Bob checked the injured woman. Her ankle was sprained, but not broken. He called an ambulance, got the situation under control. His way of moving had completely changed. He was no longer a limping old man, but a trained professional. Every movement was calculated. Every decision quick and correct. Tyler and his friends were watching this from a distance. For the first time, they were looking at Bob with different eyes. "There's something strange about him," Chloe said in amazement. His tone completely changed, Marcus said. "It's like he's someone else," Jake said. Tyler said nothing. But something was changing inside him. At 2:30 p.m., Bob's military instincts kicked in. A 3-person group entered the mall. They looked like normal customers, but Bob immediately noticed them. Their walk was wrong. Too careful, too calculated. Their eyes constantly scanned the security cameras. Their body language was tense, ready. His 20 years of military experience made him sense danger. This was beyond intuition. It was a trained ability. The men separated, went in different directions. One toward the jewelry store, one to electronics, one stayed near the exit. This looked like a coordinated movement. Bob took his radio. "Mike, suspicious activity. 3 people, probably organized. Are you sure, Bob? They might just be customers." "Unsure. Their walk, posture, eye movements. These aren't normal customers." Mike trusted Bob's experience. "Okay, I'm alerting the other teams." Bob started, following all 3 men, as inconspicuously as possible, but always within sight. This was military surveillance technique. 10 minutes later, Bob's fears came true. The alarm went off. The jewelry store was being robbed. Bob was the closest person. He started running, completely forgetting the pain in his leg. Adrenaline, 20. Years of military training and protective instinct had kicked in. When he reached the jewelry store, 3 men had taken the employees hostage. One had a gun, the others were breaking display cases. "Police are coming," one of them shouted. "Let's escape through the back exit." But the back exit was under Bob's control. He knew all the exits, knew all the routes by heart. The robbers started. Running, Bob followed them. He was no longer the limping old man. This was Ranger Bob. When he caught up with the first robber, he took him down with a single move. The movement was so fast and professional that the man didn't understand what happened. Bob's hands still remembered the techniques he'd learned 20 years ago. The second man drew his gun. But Bob was faster. He took the gun from his hand, neutralized him too. The movement was fluid, as if he'd learned it yesterday. The third man tried to escape. Bob chased him. His leg hurt, but he wasn't stopping. Rangers never give up. That was their motto. Tyler and his friends were watching all this with their mouths open. Was this the same old limping security guard they'd been mocking? This isn't possible, Marcus whispered. How is he so fast? Jake asked. And those moves, double Chloe said. It was like in a movie. Tyler wasn't saying anything. He was just watching, in shock. Bob caught the third man too. All 3 were on the ground, neutralized. None were seriously injured, but they couldn't move. When the police arrived, Bob calmly explained the situation. Professional, detailed, like a military report. How did you manage this? The young police officer asked. Bob smiled. Experience. What kind of experience? Bob paused, thought. Military. In the following days, Bob's story spread. The local newspaper wrote, "Hero security guard prevents robbery." But the real change was in the teenagers. Tyler approached Bob. He was ashamed. Couldn't lift his eyes. "Mr. Mitchell? I'm sorry. We didn't know. What didn't you know?" Bob asked gently. Who you were? Bob nodded. "I'm just a man doing his job, Tyler. We all are. But you're different." "No," Bob said. "I'm human like everyone else. I just have different experiences." Marcus, Jake, and Chloe also approached. They were all ashamed. "We were very rude," Chloe said. "We're sorry." "Apology accepted," Bob said. "But I want you to learn something. Don't judge people by their appearance. Everyone has a story." "Were you really an Army Ranger?" Marcus asked curiously. Bob paused, thought. "I served for 20 years. Afghanistan, Iraq, many places. But that's in the past. Now I'm here to protect you. Why didn't you ever tell us?" Jake asked. "Because the past is the past," Bob said. "What matters is now. And now my job is to keep you safe." From that day on, everything changed. The teenagers started showing Bob respect. Not just them, but the entire mall. "Good morning, Mr. Mitchell," Tyler would say every morning. "Good morning, son," Bob would reply, smiling. Tyler now walked with Bob, talked with him. "Mr. Mitchell, how can you stay so calm? Even after what we did to you?" Bob stopped, thought. "Because carrying anger only burns yourself. I'm here to protect you, not to punish you. But we disrespected you. And you learned," Bob said. "That's enough." Marcus started asking questions about Bob's military experiences. Bob would share what he deemed appropriate. "What's war like?" Marcus had asked one day. "Terrible," Bob said honestly, "but sometimes necessary. What matters is fighting for the right reasons." "What reasons?" "To protect others, not to prove yourself." Jake was curious about Bob's physical abilities. How could you move so fast? Your leg ... My leg limps, Bob said, but my spirit is strong. And when necessary, spirit overcomes body. Chloe was the person who changed the most. The girl who used to be cruel now acted protective toward Bob. Mr. Mitchell, she said one day, if anyone disrespects you, tell me. I'll handle it. Bob smiled. Thank you, Chloe. But that's not necessary. You just be a good person. That's enough. Months passed. Bob had become not just a security guard, but also a mentor. The teenagers would come to him, tell him their problems. Tyler was undecided about college choice. What should I do, Mr. Mitchell? Listen to your heart, Bob said, but use your mind too. Together, they show the right path. Marcus had problems with his father. He never understands me, he complained. Maybe you're not trying to understand him, Bob said. Communication is two-way. Jake was having confidence issues. I feel worthless. Your worth isn't in what others give you, Bob said. It's in your character. And you're a good kid, Jake. Chloe was experiencing future anxiety. What if I fail? Failure is part of learning, Bob said. What matters is getting back up. When he graduated high school, Tyler came to Bob. Mr. Mitchell, I want to join the military. Bob was surprised. Are you sure? Yes, I want to be like you. Don't try to be like me, Bob said. Be yourself. But if you want to serve, do it for the right reasons. What reasons? To protect others, not to prove yourself. Tyler nodded. I understand. Bob extended his hand. I'd be proud. Tyler applied to military academy. Bob wrote his reference letter. The letter was short but powerful. I have known Tyler Morrison for 2 years. Initially, he was a disrespectful young man, but he was open to learning. Now, he is an honorable young man. He has the character needed for military service. I recommend him. Years passed. Tyler graduated from military academy. The first person he visited was Bob. Lieutenant Tyler, Bob said proudly. Thanks to you, Tyler said. No, Bob said. Thanks to your own effort. Marcus had studied psychology. He focused on understanding people, helping them. You changed me, Mr. Mitchell, he said. Jake had become a teacher. I teach children what you taught me, he said. Chloe had become a social worker. Like you, I try to protect people, she said. That day, a small ceremony was held at the mall in Bob's honor. But Bob didn't want to make a speech. I just did my job, he said. That's what we all should do. But everyone knew Bob wasn't just a security guard. He was a teacher, a protector, a hero, and most importantly, he was a ranger. Because rangers never retire. They just change uniforms. Bob Mitchell, 67 years old, still came to Westfield Mall every morning at 7 a.m. His blue uniform was spotless, his badge shiny. His right leg still limped, but no one laughed at it anymore, because everyone knew real strength isn't in showing off, it's in character. And Bob Mitchell's character was much stronger than his limping leg. The story didn't end here. Every day, a new page was being written. Bob's patience, kindness, and courage continued to change everyone around him. Young security guard David was learning from Bob. How can you be so patient? He had asked. Because every person is valuable, Bob had said, even those who disrespect you. Sarah, now assistant manager, had said, You're my role model. I'm just doing my job, Bob had said. So are you. And perhaps the most important lesson was this. Never judge someone by their appearance. Because you don't know, that person might. Be the hero who will change your life, make you a better person. Like Bob Mitchell, because real heroes don't fly with capes.